The New Wave, or La Nouvelle Vague, is a French art film movement created by a group of young intellectuals and film critics during the late 1950s to 60s in Paris that, in the spirit of iconoclasm, rejected traditional techniques and visuals of film to go for more experimental ones. This movement is considered to be one of the most influential in cinema history, as the filmmakers pushed conceptual and artistic boundaries in regards to their editing, visual stylization, and narratives, but never to be taken just at surface value, as there is often a great utilization of irony to work with hot social or political topics, as well as exploration of existential themes. In the words of director, screenwriter, and critic Jean-Luc Godard, "To me, style is just the outside of content, and content the inside of style. Like the outside and the inside of the human body both go together. They can't be separated." The stylization of film did not just mean visuals over substance, but rather acknowledging that style in and of itself is a form of substance. There was a great impact which was not only shaping the fashion scene of the era, but also present fashion media and personal style. The fusion of film, art, photography, graphic design, and fashion introduced new styles of visual communications within media and intertwined these art forms together to create the films that were very radical and innovative. Not only did they change the face of cinema, but through their work created the trend-setting faces of multiple fashion icons, such as Brigitte Bardot, Anna Karina, or Jean-Paul Belmondo, and Alain Delon, as well as defining ways of dress that are still upheld to this day due to the revolution of visual culture. Films prior and after this movement tend to uphold this image of perfection, but the unorthodox, outspoken, and forthright approach within themes and narration undid this, adding a degree of imperfection that visually perpetuates the effortless, cool, and nonchalant attitude many deem as ideal for living, or the look of perfection within this component as an aspirational standard in relation to fashion and beauty. French New Wave cinema challenged the insipid visual communications of traditional cinema through pushing this everlasting dichotomy between perfected depictions showing everything of an experience versus sincere life situations presented in a manner that is much more similar to life. The clothing of these films looking at fashion history was not groundbreaking, but rather forward-thinking. Costume design, of course, was a conscious decision and a contributing factor of the look, but there is a reason why the looks of these films are still referenced while others are not. The allure that new wave fashion offers is something different than traditional media, a lightness, mischievous, free-willing essence that is usually quite absent yet desired. This time period by which the movement took place was a time where freedom was beginning to have a look, with a differing etiquette in regards to editing and alternative style of visuals. The division and tension of sophistication and bohemian spirit translated through to perpetuate this allure, still setting the tone for the films following, along with trends of fashion and beauty. The films breathed life, attitude, and personality into these looks, and as a result, the themes and clothing grew with one another to hold a prominence visually, which provides a timeless appeal that doesn't capture an era, but rather a concept that many can resonate or see themselves in. This revolutionary movement was not only impacting the film scene, but garnered in new forms of creativity. Given the low budgets, many actors would actually have to use their own clothing and express their character in a manner they saw suitable. The style of and found in these films, along with the icons, still resonate with many people. Designers and fashion brands often pull inspiration from the movement, on screen as well. The fashion of French New Wave not only inspires the look, but the conceptual execution and delivery of high fashion media.
Il s'occupe de la façon dont vous habillez?
Non, absolument pas. Oh non, pas du tout comme ça.
Anna Karina, named by fashion legend Coco Chanel, has the style and face most recognized for this movement, and rightfully so, as she is the muse of director Jean-Luc Godard and performed in many of his films along with others. Her expressive, radiant presence embodied the upcoming spirit of the 60s within her girlish, vibrant, playful, vulnerable, and artistic style. There is an elevation of femininity while presenting a down-to-earth display of style. Beauty is a contributing factor to her iconic look. Her makeup is distinctively 60s with an emphasis on the eyes. Hair is low maintenance with an undone factor. There's a lot of dimension to her style. It's quirky yet cynical, romantic yet risque, which is conveyed through styling techniques. She often wore these very girlish dresses adorned with frills and minimal yet prominent detailing. Color blocking, checks, plaids, and stripes were applied, with contrasting primary colors usually. A nod to mod culture. Karina's looks were finished off with bold accessories. Subtle elements of dress, such as ruffles, were read as womanly. Another element of this is the constant waist emphasis that streamlines out in a flared manner to create the signature A silhouette. In many films, she sported a range of looks to suit her characters, but there is always this overall air of mystique. Brigitte Bardot is the most notable actress from the movement. She is more remembered for her beauty than fashion. Short hemlines, sundresses, and bow accessories were her signatures, but often wore and set many stylish trends of the late 50s and 60s. For example, making popular the boat neck off the shoulder cut to the point the namesake neckline is often referred to by her name. The wide headbands of simple outfits and a focus on beauty was a staple style of hers. Bardot garnered in a new appreciation for vacation and travel wear through her films, making these pieces not just practical, but desirable. Another actress with notable fashion contributions is Catherine Deneuve, who on screen shared sophisticated, elegant, chic, and modern looks, even dressed by designer Yves Saint Laurent. So many took style cues from her outfits, to the point that the YSL Belle Vivier shoe that she sported in Belle de Jour became the brand's most famous shoe. On the runway, it was featured in the 1965 Mondrian collection, going on to be a wardrobe staple for many. Other actresses offering different aesthetics breathed life into the clothing, setting different tones of dress that created many trends, inspired, and served as reference. Icon Jean-Paul Belmondo was dubbed the bad boy of the French New Wave. One of his most iconic performances was in Breathless, a film noted for its style despite lacking a costume designer. Belmondo sports this beatnik bourgeois look that was coming into fashion for the 1960s, with film noir inspiration. Belmondo's take on the character was the same manner, dressing in his thoughts, this carefree state of mind captured in patterns and often chaotically scaled garments, usually unsuited to him or the weather. On this, Sarah Kaufman stated, "The long stride, the oversized jacket bobbing above it. He's filmed to look big and broad-shouldered, but it's the fluidity in his stride and the harmony of his whole body that telegraph abundant confidence. The little details in hand of his personality added more visual depth not only to his looks, but creating these characters and visuals to add this implication of vanity and insincerity in juxtaposition with the ever so laid-back, genuine pieces. A very devil in the flesh type approach that he used often. His unique take on the tough guy made waves in the fashion scene. Another leading man of this movement is Alain Delon. Jean-Paul Belmondo and him are a bit of a yin and yang situation. Delon, on the other hand, is more elegant and dashing with a timeless sense of style, though Delon is not known for a specific look. By his overall looks, many still reference his fashion in a very philosophical manner. Since there is not a formulaic approach, the romantics of his looks live on and serve to provide a way of dress rather than code, which can also be found in his own fashion label, best known for its tailoring and attention to detail, creating that not so overtly but pure feeling of luxury. Both actors had great influence on the image of men and still uphold a great influence on modern menswear. Though the films do not have a complete focus on one style, there is one philosophy that has shaped the movement and life after it, that a look may display the authenticity of the wearer through a proclamation of character and indifference in regards to forcing this, as it's the execution needed to bring it to life. For example, the spirit of New Wave cinema vibrantly shines in the Prada Candy campaigns. With direction from Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola, there are 3 episodes, Meet Candy, Let's Dance, and Jean and Julius, that convey the whimsy of the scent through stylistic narration and presentation of the fashion short film's characters, atmosphere, and dialogue. The perfume is a playful and seductive scent. New Wave inspired Jules and Gem and other classic French New Wave films. Prada Candy is able to capture the witty, cynical, romantic, laid-back, sexy, and lively essences of the product in a visual manner. Another example of New Wave revival in fashion media is in the short Miss Dior Chérie, which is an homage to the candy-colored musical The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Miss Dior Chérie is a very sweet and feminine scent. It's meant for those of good style and taste who are a bit unusual, with an internal youth factor that is found in the notes, which are visually depicted. The cinema movement is also present in men's campaigns. In a Chanel campaign directed by Martin Scorsese, there is a strong new wave feel present within the visuals and character portrayal, though it does more explicitly mirror Blow Up 1966. This also had pulled deep inspiration from the French New Wave cinema as the movement was passing. Off-screen, the movement can be found within collections, garments, and styling techniques, such as Agnes B. Fall 2007 collection and Kate Spade Fall 2012 line. The collections are an ode to this movement, rendered in modernized manner while producing the classic imagery through color, print, and silhouette. For the Dior Fall 2018 collection, the fashion house channeled the artistic movement in reference to the 400 Blows, Breathless, and A Band of Outsiders to signify the influence of art and film. The campaign's execution was heavily inspired by the classic A Woman is a Woman, even including subtitles and similar styling techniques. The themes of counterculture and irony were present in the 60s inspired embroideries, lace, prints, and altered uniform garments to play into the retro look but through a lens of luxury. Recently, for Chanel Spring 2020, the designer upheld the enduring portrayal and experience of womanhood through intellectual and nonchalant tones. The scenery was done to produce the atmosphere of the new wave, in order to showcase the image of women in an honest light, similar to how the films had done so, conveying how it's about the culture, lifestyle, and attitude of the clothing. The fashion of French New Wave has reached every market level internationally, with the style of the movement remaining so far-reaching. Many look to the effortless, vintage-esque aesthetic. The way the artistic identity is present in the films is the way that personality translates into clothing. Many trends often cycle back that were derived from these films, and frequently they are the basis of wardrobe or components of aesthetics for many people. While one may take codes of dress such as the cat eye, many dresses and headbands, or relaxed button-downs, and sleek tailored trousers of beat-up leather oxfords, the notion that life shatters the illusion of ideals, and what is traditionally deemed as imperfections of dress may just be true style for one. Each film teaches about life within numerous topics that hold great impact on viewers. One aspect of these films that we can draw inspiration from is not just the beauty of life, but the beauty of being present. Personal style and the way that we wear clothing is a way to interlace ourselves into the world or into these little moments, creating the visual narrative of our life while signifying ourselves and experiences. In doing so, we tangibly capture ourselves and connect to the world in the same manner that these characters do, since sometimes the most moving moments in film are just as life. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and comment. Thank you so much for watching.